Hello, my fellow voyagers on this journey of life that we are sharing together. Every year, I think we get initiated more and more deeply into the mystery and into the unknown and into this sense of dissolving and becoming that's so innate to the process of living here in this world. And this Pisces full moon is really going to reflect the poetry of that. I think Piscean energy is just poetry. It reminds us of the ocean and the galaxies and that surrendering to something bigger. And also, I think it gets us back in touch with that flow of life, the flow of the seasons, the flow of the river, the flow of the tides, and takes us a little bit out of that kind of willpower, nose to the grindstone type of way that we often think about creating or becoming. And I think that is always something that is welcome, living in a world that so values the doing and the acting and the making things happen and really relying so deeply on our will and on like the steam power of that to get us through everything. This full moon kind of brings us back in touch with something bigger holding us. And I do think that's medicine we all need at this time. And a Pisces full moon too every year. You know, this happens every Virgo season. We have this beautiful Pisces full moon. And every year, a full moon and Pisces both signal a culmination, a coalescence, and a completion of a cycle. They are both, a full moon, of course, closes out a moon cycle. It's about full illumination and release. And Pisces, as the last sign of the zodiac, represents our dissolving into the larger whole and our becoming part of the greater energetic field in order to be reborn when we move into the Aries energy, right? So a Pisces full moon is always going to signal where we are noticing our form is changing. One form is dissolving, one cycle is completing, and another is opening. Now, this specific Pisces full moon, which is happening on September 10th, is going to be very closely aligned with Neptune. It's just going to be a handful of degrees away from Neptune during this full moon. Neptune is Pisces' ruling sign. Neptune's been in Pisces for many, many years. And this combo really amplifies the water power of this full moon, right? This is not about grounded energy or concise air energy or really high speed, impactful fire energy. This is going to be a very water-based full moon. Now, one of the things you often hear about Piscean and Neptunian energy is that it is about the fantasy. This is about the hidden world and the unseen world. And on the physical plane, Piscean energy is also about the hidden world that has to do with asylums and incarceration and things like that. There's a lot of layers to Pisces I'm not going to be able to cover in this chat. But Piscean energy is also about the hidden, unseen, energetic world. Neptune is also associated with fantasy, with imagination, with daydreaming. These two together here really amplify that. Now, one of the things you often hear about Piscean and Neptunian energy is that while it is about the fantasy and about those daydreams and visions, there's a fine line between that and falling into a nightmare or the medicine turning into the poison, right? And that's often how you will hear this talked about. And I think it's true, you know, when we are kind of letting ourselves dissolve into something bigger, one of the ways that it's best to work with this energy is to really be an interactive, active part in that exploration of fantasy and imagination. Because most of us are going to have haunted houses and old wiring and stories and collective stories that we've been ingesting for a long time, that it's very easy to, we're floating along to just get onto that circuit and to feel like some of those scarier stories can come up, right? So we want to really be present with ourselves and our becoming during this full moon, not because I think this moon is going to be full of nightmares or a very stressful full moon that we have to kind of dread or prepare or gird ourselves for, but because if we are going to be floating on this more dissolving, very vulnerable, I would say, open place, we really want to feel that we are taking care of ourselves in that and working with the elements at play here. Now, the final aspect that this full moon is going to be making that I think is important is going to be a really beautiful sextile with our friend Uranus in Taurus. Uranus is in a retrograde right now and is in the midpoint of its transit through Taurus. And it heralds change, right? It heralds innovation. It heralds trying to do things differently. And with a full moon like this in Pisces that is asking what is dissolving, what is releasing, what can we no longer hold on to hold us together or hold our identity together, and where is that actually pointing us? This Uranus sextile is going to help us see where we are being pointed. And it is going to point to innovation. It is going to point to coloring outside the lines. It is going to point to stepping out of our normal patterns and routines and doing things in a different format. And that can look very different for every person. But in general, this full moon is really going to be about what form are we holding on to of ourselves that is asking to be released and dissolved so that we can let ourselves evolve and let ourselves step into our next shape and form fully. And doing that from a place of self-trust rather than like fear and paranoia and like feeling like we are having vulnerability hangovers all the time, right? So we want to prepare the path there. Our job this full moon, and I just wanted to mention too, this full moon is happening right as Mercury is stationing retrograde. So it also, and there is going to be a video about Mercury retrograde coming up very soon, or it might be out when you're watching this that I will be doing. So we'll get into that another time. But what I'll say about that is it lends a very introspective feel to this full moon. And it's a really great place to just really check in, really come home to whatever is wanting to be dissolved and whatever is wanting to be heard at this time. So I'm really excited because I think this energy can help us. I think it can be such a relief, right, to fully feel into, oh yeah, that project just does not light me up the same way anymore. And it's scary to admit it because that project is what people know me for. That skill is what everybody expects of me. I expect it of myself. It's where I've found a container and a way to view myself and understand myself and visualize myself and feel security in this physical world. But I also know that I've changed and my passions have changed and what lights me up has shifted, and I haven't let myself see that because it's scary to acknowledge that I am changing shape, right? But it feels also so wonderful to really be communing with our spirit and to be entering into an initiation with the Great Spirit, with the larger field of energy that has so many pathways it would like to offer up. That's so often because we are trained to follow through with our willpower, which is a great skill set. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying never have willpower. Willpower is beautiful, but it only does part of the job. It can't hold us in the mystery. It can't hold us in the grief. It can't hold us in the not knowing. It can't always be the one that is producing answers and connections and help, right? In receiving help and receiving from literal people and situations as well as from a greater spirit, requires us to let go of this idea that our willpower is the one thing making it work, right? And so this full moon is really reminding us of that and reminding us that holding tight to our containers and to our identifiers sometimes and what we work. And 2 cards came out and now they fell. Let's see what we got. I love it. Very Virgo energy. We are in the middle of Virgo season after all. But yeah, I think this full moon can just bring us back to a place where we can remember that it's okay that we're not willpowering our way through every single mystery in our lives. And quite simply. Okay, so Page of Pentacles and the Hermit decided to join the party. They flew out of the deck. They fell on the floor. So here they are. I think this is so interesting. Page of Pentacles is this youthful energy. Pages are about being a beginner and starting a new journey, right? And the Hermit is about our ancient wisdom. our elder wisdom, I think like for me, the Hermit is our soul wanting to guide us through something and wanting to speak with us and show us the way with its lantern and its light. And our souls they have elder wisdom. They have a certain understanding of things at a deep level. And I think the combination of the youthful beginner that is lighting a new way and that is thinking of new ideas and innovating and trying things out with the wisdom of the sage and the seer, with the grounded being present here and really feeling through our bodies during this Virgo season is really, really beautiful because these two actually work very well together. The Hermit will help us to see, to put on our Technicolor lenses so that we can step out of our sometimes very narrow focused vision that we'll get on a problem or on a section of our lives where we feel like we just have to keep looking at it the same way. The Hermit initiates us into being able to put on our full range of vision glasses and lenses and being able to see around us again and see our path and see how we are changing and initiate us back into a conversation with our soul that's allowing containers to dissolve and allowing old identities or old ways of holding ourselves accountable or pushing through with our will to release a little bit so that we can listen to the ever-renewing, curious spirit that kind of maybe is a little naive and doesn't know all the answers and would like to just try this out. It actually paves the way for us to re-access that beginner's mind when we let go of some of the harsh holding on of containers and forms that we think we need to hold on to. So these two work really, really well together. And I think it's that perfect combo. Once again, a full moon in Pisces is going to herald an ending and a beginning. It's going to herald a culmination. It's going to herald a closing out of a circle and an understanding within that. And when that happens, we are integrating the wise voice that has been through a whole cycle as well as the voice that would like to begin a new one. And you're going to be finding there's a conversation between these two. And that they aren't as widely different as we sometimes think they are. They're actually working in tandem and they'd like to work together to bring us the clarity of what the next step really needs to be. And with that being said, I think with this Pisces full moon being so vulnerable, it's so open. We're floating on that ocean, right? And we might feel really, really open and really, really porous to all the different parts of ourselves, all the different layers. Our guardians might be a little concerned, our inner guardians, our inner worriers. Our inner critics even might be a little hyped up. And we might also just feel like awash with ideas and energies flowing through. I am going to be offering an activation that really helps us to connect with this and feel safe within this over on my Patreon. So if you are looking for a way to work with this, I'd love to see you there. It's really affordable. It's a really wonderful way to support me so that I can keep showing up here. And it's a way for me to support you as well and offer you that much more warmth and safety within these spaces. So I'd really, really, really appreciate it and love to see you over in my beautiful Magic Seekers and Magic Makers universe over there. It's so cozy and such a special place to me. I'd also love to see you here. Of course, I would love it if you stuck around and spent some time with me. And you can also find me on my one and only true Instagram. So I'd love to see you in all of those places. Just take care of your beautiful spirits during this Pisces full moon and know that I'm right there with you in the initiation into the mystery. Every day it gets more mysterious and more mystical, I think. And I hope you all are doing so well. I will talk to you so very, very soon.